warm welcome to ET Campus Stars, ET's flagship initiative, now in its fifth edition. It's a wide-ranging initiative from the search of top engineering talent, masterclasses to educate and inspire, and bringing in thought leadership to pinpoint the trends and signal a course for the future. A big shout out to Bridge Labs, which is the employability partner for this edition of ET Campus Stars. I'm Maloni Bhatt. Now, there is a scramble for good talent, especially good tech talent. In fact, it's more than a scramble. Newspapers tell us that it's an all-out war. Now, every HR person in a tech company will tell you that finding, hiring, and keeping good tech talent is not easy. And it's gotten a lot harder, apparently. Nowadays, all businesses need sophisticated technology professionals, not just tech organizations. So there's just simply too much competition. Is this frenzy over tech talent really such a big deal? Can some of the roles be filled by those who don't have tech backgrounds? Are tech companies casting the net far and wide to attract the talent that is necessary? And is this talent war then really necessary? Now, to answer these and more questions, I have with me Shefali Bansal. She's the Global Engineering Director at Red Hat. Red Hat is an American company which provides open source enterprise software products. Shefali is an engineer, and before her role at Red Hat, she was Program Director and Global Practice Leader IoT at IBM. Shefali, good to have you with us.
My pleasure.
I'm also pleased to welcome Gaurav Asthana, the Chief Technology Officer at Gramophone. Gramophone is an agri-tech company. Gaurav has a degree in computer science and a master's in software systems. Very good to have you with us today, Gaurav. All right, Shefali, let's start with what would you say is causing this demand-supply gap in tech talent? Call the cradle for tech talent. What's going on?
So it's an interesting era we have got into, Meloni, here, right? So the tech talent thing, while there is a lot of frenzy because we are seeing a demand and supply challenge, and a lot of it is definitely happening because of the pandemic coming in, right? With pandemic coming in, the enterprises accelerated their journey towards digital transformation. And that kind of led to them devoting a lot more business imperatives into technology systems. And that kind of led to the need to have more technical talents. That's one of the things which is driving. One of the other reason which the tech talent frenzy we see, which not many people kind of really know, is that before the pandemic strike happened, a lot of the companies had actually paused their hiring plans. And what has happened because of this is that because the business at that point in time for certain industries, especially the services industry, was a little bit uncertain and hence the pause in hiring. And now that pent-up demand has actually also added to this challenge that we are seeing. And this is kind of adding to the supply demand. But if you kind of just look at these two factors, the India talent pool that it generates, it still kind of could have mapped the requirement. But there is one factor which has actually pandemic really shifted it out. That is basically the globalization of the talent pool. Now with the globalization of the talent pool, the talent has become agnostic of the location. The enterprises are ready to pay if they are getting the required skills at the same price point which they pay for somebody in Europe and US. Now that has actually increased the rates at which people are being hired for. Now this working from anywhere situation is actually causing this. And that thing is going to kind of create a different kind of shift. And that is something which companies will have to really start adjusting and adapting to it, because there is still a big gap between dollar and the rupee conversion rate, and still a long way to go where things would marginalize. Though we will say it is 70%, but it's actually being paid in the dollar the same amount somebody gets paid in California versus getting paid in Bangalore. So that's kind of another dimension to think about it, and it is for real. So those are some of the thoughts which are causing the frenzy about the talent today.
Gaurav, there are also large numbers of resignations from existing jobs. Techies are resigning. Companies are finding it very difficult to hold on to employees. First of all, can they hold on to their employees? How do they do it?
Okay, so after this COVID pandemic had like there's a lot of, I would say, there is a very good increase in the adoption of technology across sectors, and forced these companies across different segments to adopt digitalization and new age capabilities, which in turn has put a lot of pressure on tech hiring. Okay, now there are two parts of it. Like one is like there is a lack of resources, like I would say this skill resources in the industry. That is one part. And second, with this work from home coming and all these employees, I would say prospective employees, they have more options in hand. They are not bind to particular location. Okay, unless what happens if you are living in an area near NCR, you are looking for a job in the NCR region, and you are going for the company which are in the NCR region only. Now you can apply across India or across world also. Okay, and sitting at your location only. Okay, now employees have more options in hand, and they are having more salaries also, because there is a like a lot of competition between companies to hire a particular employee. So they are giving a lot of counter offers and all. So an employee is getting a very good salary, and along with the flexibility also of working from anywhere. Now this is impacting the other, I would say, their circle also. So when someone in my circle is getting a very good opportunity, a very good salary, and he is at part of my knowledge or my experience, that triggers, okay, I should also go and figure out something in the market. And then when I'm going in the market again, I'm getting something there. Okay, now that is this is like this is chain reaction which I'm seeing. Okay, where which is triggering, like, so this is a chain reaction where people who are very like satisfied in their job also, when they are listening or they're hearing, okay, that someone in their circle got something from that company, some offer, they become restless, or they become like unsatisfied, dissatisfied from their current company. Okay, so that is one thing I am seeing, and which I'm frankly speaking practically like experiencing also, like in last few months, I would say a couple of years. Okay, now how
So
companies
is
can
this happening, Gaurav? Is this happening in your company as well?
So my company just started with a new company. Obviously we started like with a low team size. Okay, right now we are, so our challenge is different because we are having low team size. We want to increase the team size because with the funding and all, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of things we have planned to do. We are not able. We are finding it difficult to add more resources in the company. So from the attrition point, I am like we are very, I would say. Um, from the attrition point, we are like we have not seen much attrition in the company, but from the point of adding new resources in the company, we are finding it very challenging, and that is causing a lot of delay in our plans and our execution and all. So that is something which we are facing right now. Uh, Now, how can companies hold on to the people, like on that part? Okay, so now companies and management are required to focus on multiple areas, I would say right now. The first part is like skilling and upskilling their resources and talents, which they already have in the company. That is the first thing they need to do. Second thing, they need to provide a more positive workplace environment, and more like where right now where employee can feel okay, more empowered, and more you can say where he can see, okay, that he is like adding something to the company. Okay,
Right.
now this thing is like some unless an employee feels that he's adding to the company, he will not stay with the company. Okay, you need to make them feel empowered also. Okay, third is like we need company need to make more friendly policies and processes. The policies and processes which are working pre-COVID are not going to work. They need to be more flexible in their approach. They need to be more flexible with their work-life balance, which is needed right, the need of the hour right now. So you need to be more flexible in your policies, and a lot of work is needed on reworking on the policies and processes which the companies are following pre-COVID and post-COVID, or you can say right now. Last point is like reassessment of salaries and perks, okay, and offers, and you need to make them competitive, and you need to give better compensation and benefit to your current employees. Okay, if you're not going to do that, someone else will do, and your employee will leave. Okay, and then when you're going to hire a new employee, you're going to give them a higher package, or you can say higher benefits. So why should you should wait for that to come? You can you can do assessment of your current employee, current workforce, and see where the gap is, and you need to fill the gap basically there. I would say that is
All right.
needed right now.
Yeah, very good points. Shefali, to the points that Gaurav made, are you guys, your company, finding it difficult to hold on to employees and to hire new people?
So the challenge, so we're not, I would say, agnostic to the challenge that the company is facing, but Red Hat has a very strong open source background, and it actually imbibes that in the culture of the company as well. And it being a very open bottom-up kind of a management style culture actually has helped Red Hat to kind of sustain and kind of be able to retain talent to a large extent. But having said that, it's a challenge when it comes to onboarding of new people. So across the whole onboarding, attraction, retention, and development, we are again revisiting all the policies and procedures that we have, so that we are kind of adapting to the new situations that are arriving in. And at the end of it, everybody knows people don't leave for money. It is the culture and the environment that we provide them. So there's a lot of focus to kind of see that we sustain and maintain, because Red Hat over last 2 years has grown 25% in employee size. So there's a lot of new people joining the company, and how do we kind of sustain our culture, which we are so very proud of. So that's one area that we are focusing a lot on, to kind of ensure that we have talent retention, and we kind of do what is needed for employees' growth and relevant benefits. So that's that.
So one of the questions is that, in this entire work from anywhere situation where, I as an employee will only interact with other employees, through this little screen on my laptop, is it easier for people to let go of companies, do you think? Rather than if they would be if they're in a situation where they actually meet up with their colleagues and with their peers?
Yeah, it's yeah. So
Shefali, you can go.
Yeah. So I'll probably quote from my example, and I'll quote both the dimensions, right? So I spent quite a bit of time at IBM, where 15 years I was part of the same organization, and 15 years is a long journey where you actually established so much personal connects and relationship that it becomes just difficult to step out. It's like a home, you have to decide to move on to a new home, right? So it does play a role of having that connects, because that also, it's like connects to your roots, and it kind of gives you a stability. But having said that, with the pandemic coming in, we also know the reality today that 70% of the workforce which moved into new companies have already left the organization. So that also tells that stickiness of being in a company, because there is no personal touch or personal connects, does play a long role to kind of have people associate with an organization and associate with the culture and the work that they are doing. So there are no two questions that it plays a big role. But having said that, we also have to adapt to the new reality that hybrid mode of work is here to stay. And in that sense, what best we can do to kind of provide that kind of a sense of belonging and touch, while also remaining flexible enough to remain virtual and deliver, is that sweet spot that we are all looking for and striving for, I would say.
Right. You want to add something to this, Gaurav?
So I would say, so there are two kind of, like, I would say, audience. Okay, one is like they like to work from office a lot, and they're missing it. So in my conversation with my current employees, also in the past, colleagues also and friends also, so there is a big number of, like, I would say, big percentage of this population, they are now, after spending so much time at home, they are like, they want to come back to office. Okay, and they are missing that kind of environment, and they can missing of that sense of belongingness. Okay, and there is a then there is an audience who is young, and from start of their career, yeah, they are working from home. Okay,
right.
They cannot figure out. Okay, they cannot differentiate. Okay, what or they cannot figure out what they're missing, basically, I would say. Okay, because when you're working in office, or the kind of environment, the things you learn in office, the kind of environment or vibes you have, you cannot get those vibes sitting at home. Okay, and a big part of your learning comes from the office environment also, professional learning. You can work from anywhere, but you cannot learn from anywhere. So this learning which you can get from the culture or the sense of belonging, as I was mentioning, empowering the employee. If you're not going to office, you're not seeing the things happening around you, when you're not seeing different departments, how they are working, how different teams are interacting with each other, you're not seeing all those things. And when you're not doing that, you won't be able to grasp, and won't be able to feel that thing also. If you're joining a company remotely, work from home, and you're doing your work, you're kind of working as a freelancer. Okay, you are coming, you're getting your work, you are doing your work, and you're leaving. But you are not getting, you're losing a lot, I would say. Okay, so the guys who have worked for a long time from office, now they are the ones who wants to go back to office, and when their office is opening, they are feeling quite happy about that. But there are a percentage of employees who are obviously, you have both kind of like mixed kind of audience. Okay, so they are employees who are not happy with that. Like when they are after the college, they went to their home, living with their parents and working from there and getting a good salary also. Now when this idea of going back to a new city and finding a new home and living there and figuring out your food and all, that comes in their mind, that makes it more challenging for them. And those are the guys who are resisting all these things, I would say. So that's the
Right.
thing. But I would say, I would agree with Shefali that hybrid is the future. Okay, you cannot be fully work from home, you cannot be fully work from office. So I guess hybrid is the future, where you need to like accommodate both kind of things, where you want, where you can basically so basically every company has different needs at given point of time. So, and this hybrid working can help company adjust according to their needs. Okay, and where both company and employees can get benefit. So
Right.
hybrid is the way. Yeah.
Gaurav, I just want to point to the fact, something that both you and Shafali alluded to is that now companies can source people or employees from anywhere. So suddenly, for companies also, the opportunity of finding employees has increased, just as much as it has increased for those people who want to find jobs, which are located anywhere in the world. So, you know, are companies able to make much of this opportunity, or they're struggling?
So if I talk about from my perspective about my company or my friends, okay. So right now, since there is a like, I would say, disparity in the demand and supply, so we are struggling. Okay, and with this, like, we are in NCR. Okay, so the NCR pool, which was available to me earlier more easily. Okay, now that pool is also not available to me completely. Okay, and what is happening, like centers like Bangalore and all. So people living in south, okay, even if they are getting work from home, they're preferring it Bangalore or Pune or Hyderabad location, because what they're feeling, okay, what happens if in future office opens, how would I manage? So that fear of opening office in future is still there. So people who are living close to a metro are still trying to get a job within that metro. Okay, and that is one thing. But right now, I would say I didn't get much benefit of this opening. Obviously, I hired a number of employees from the south in my company. Okay, and who are not willing to come to office, but they are willing to work from home, and because we needed that, we are okay with that also. But what happening with that? There's a very big cultural difference between the people living in south and people living in north, and we are not meeting also physically. That those differences are not getting sorted out. Okay, when you're working in a company and people from multiple different cultures are sitting together, they learn from their different cultures and they accommodate also. But in online meetings, you cannot uh, do
Similar
that.
to mine.
Okay, so that is something which is lacking right now. So the kind of, you can say, teamwork, or kind of you can say togetherness we needed, we are not able to me or my friends, I would say, they are not. We are seeing that we are not able to get that kind of closeness between team members because they have not met each other. They are only meeting through Meet or Zoom or whatever Teams meetings. Okay, they don't know their personality personally. They don't know about their culture, their background, and all that. So uh, they are not able to, like, I would say, they're working together, but the kind of belongingness, the kind of, like, we are a team and we are and all that kind of feeling, you have to work very hard to get to that point. Basically, that is one thing.
Right.
Uh, or from the perspective of getting resumes and all. Okay, so we have very large workforce. Okay, we don't have, like, this. We are not lacking in the number of, you can say, resources in the market, but what we're lacking right now, uh, who are going to, like, fit your bill, basically your requirements. Okay, so there is a big gap in that. Okay, so there is a big number of, I would say, there are a lot of resources in market, and whenever you're posting you're posting a job, you're getting too many resumes and all. But in the end, who is fitting your requirements, and whether you are able to hire, onboard him, that is what making, that is challenging, I would say. And that is not happening because
Right.
uh, there is a limited pool of skilled employees. Okay, from a big set of resources, and everyone is fighting for those, only those. Okay, so that is very challenging for us,
So
for
basically,
anyone, not for
companies
us
are
also.
able to cast the net wide enough.
The companies are able to cast the net wide enough, but the talent pool that they need, the skills that they need is a challenge. So I would break this up into a couple of dimensions, right? One is, it depends on the kind of skills the companies are needing, right? So if there are roles which requires deep technical, deep product skills and deep skills, the talent pool that it's bringing that skills is still small. So we have work to be done there to upskill and get that talent pool at par across country.
Right.
The second dimension is we do have jobs which are not that deep technical, but a kind of very routine or more of a common jobs. Those jobs can be actually fulfilled when we kind of cast the net wide. So that part is kind of getting covered. But as Gaurav said, so the challenge is, one is on the skill side. The other dimension is also around the environment in which they have done work. So that gap we have to plug, because the culture in which they have worked in like I have seen when I interview people, while the resume says they may be at a deep technical level, but the skills comes out to be shallow if they have not really been part of such teams in their regions, right? So the depth and the caliber again kind of is
That's
different.
mismatch.
Yeah, so that kind of changes up. So it's a talent challenge. It's their maturity. What we call it is the environment, because it takes a village to make grow a boy, right, or a girl, right? So same way, the talent might be there, but if they have not been exposed to those kind of things, it is a big gap to plug. But having said that, we do have opportunities to give certain roles which they can actually come in and ramp up and then reach to that level. So that way it has helped to cast the net. And then the third dimension is the social, that of the mobility and travel. And so these are the different constraints we have to marry to make a skilled pool.
Okay. Okay. Shefali, according to some reports, a lot of IT companies or leading IT companies are offering hikes up to 70 to 120% in salary. Now, in years prior to the pandemic, salary hikes were 20-30%. Is salary hike the only way now to attract and retain talent? And what happens to smaller companies who may not have that kind of budget?
So this goes to the point I was alluding towards. Now, why 70-80%, right? The 70-80% is happening because of the dollar conversion rate. Today, talent has become globalized, and companies are ready to pay the same salary they're paying to an engineer in US. They are ready to pay to an engineer in India. So what happens is it spikes up the rates at which the people are getting hired. And talent being crunched, it creates more constraint, and so such a situation. Now, is this the only situation? Probably it may be there for certain segment and certain skills, because not everybody is getting 80% high. We have to be cognizant of that fact. It's very niche, very specialized skills which all the startups are looking for, like lead Kubernetes, it's cloud skills, cybersecurity, AI skills. Those are like high demand skills. So certain skills, and then deep product skills, or people who can design platforms, CTO skills, those skills, right? So certain skills are demanding this premium, and that's happening because of the globalized pool. So they are not looking at where the person is based, because the person is not going to an office. He's not an India-centric employee anymore. It's a global employee now, right? Now, is that the way for certain segments? It is going to be like that if companies really want to get that product out in the market, right? And the second thing is, still there is, when we look at dollar to rupee conversion, it's 70, 75, 77 today rather, right? So there is still a lot of gap there, which will still kind of keep the salary for the right candidates on a very high zone for some more time to come, right? And
that period, Shefali?
Yeah, so now there is all the speculation, newspapers, everybody says that this trend is going to stable down in 2 years, 24 months and 30 months kind of a thing. But in my opinion, attrition probably would stabilize in some bit of time. But this demand for talent is going to remain high, because the situation, if you look at today, the geopolitical situation with Russia war and a lot of work is going to actually move more towards India, and that is going to further increase the talent situation. And with pandemic and the path which enterprises have taken towards the digital journey, it's going to go further high. So the demand for talent is going to remain high. So somewhere this adjustment which companies will have to do to think that this is real is something they will have to start thinking about. Today, they are spending about, with this new shift, around their 1 to 2% of their margins are getting impacted because of higher wages and higher retention costs. So it is going to hit their margins. It's going to hit, and they may have to be ready to get further hit, because in my opinion, it's going to last for, it's going to be reality. Let me not try to put a date that when this is going to kind of stop, but it's going to be a reality. So how companies start to think that this is a reality and how they change their margin structure, that is something which they will have to start thinking. The aspect which you brought up around what do the smaller companies do, right? Who cannot afford this, right? So we did touch upon the tier 2, tier 3 or talent being there. So that is one of the options they may have to explore. Like a lot of companies are opening their setups in tier 2, tier 3 cities. The only benefit they're going to get is the wages is like 20 to 30% lower than the metro cities, right? So but that's going to give them a way to get talent. The other option which the companies are adopting is to kind of open centers into lower cost countries also, not just cities, right? Low cost countries, Mexico, Costa Rica, Philippines, right? So kind of going to find talent which is cheaper than India talent is another option. But it's definitely going to put pressure on the small companies, and they will have to really look at also the business scope of things in which they operate in, right? That they will have to operate into probably smaller scale if they're not able to get to that talent pool. Or to collaborate with bigger companies and try to have some talent collaboration kind of a thing. That would be my point.
That is it. Okay. Gaurav, Shefali was just telling us that there is really no end in sight to this talent pool. We don't know when this is going to end. Now, Gaurav, India's demand supply gap tech talent also set to widen, and there are some estimates say that it'll widen 3.5x by 2026. Do you think that the pool of talent is growing fast enough to keep pace with the rapidness of the adoption of Industry 4.0?
Okay, so Pallavi, it's not like that we don't have a workforce to meet our requirements. India is a big country with so many engineering graduates passing out each year. So we have a very big workforce available, but there is a big skill gap, which makes a big which makes like this makes a big, very big number of this workforce unhireable right now. Okay, so like as I mentioned earlier, for example, if I post one job, I can get a lot of resumes. Okay, but how many of them we can be shortlist? How many
Right.
of them can we hire? So a lot of work is needed on the skilling and upskilling part. Okay, so obviously a lot of companies have started doing that, and a lot of individuals also have started doing that. But are we able to like meet the requirement, or able to fill the gap? So I'm not. I'm seeing obviously eventually we will do that, but in current situation we are not able to do that. That's why there's so much, like you can say, firefighting and cut-throat competition is there. Cut-throat is there because we are not able to fill this gap. Now this gap cannot be filled, like cannot be filled as it is. Okay, a lot of work is needed at different levels to do that. Okay, see, it requires a long term, like seriously. There are two three ways of doing that. Okay, so one is like, but which can be done at individual level. Okay, where an individual can go and do some courses. There are a lot of courses available, a lot of courses materials available online, and they can go and do all these courses and can upskill them. And second, at the organization level, these organizations, we also need to start programs where we can provide opportunities to freshers and laterals to learn more, learn new skills, and become can be where by learning them they can be more fit for the hiring needs and all. That's one thing. And thirdly, like on the at the we need a long-term strategy also from our government level also, and university and institutional levels also, where there is certain need to change the curriculum and to make it more industry ready. Okay, there should be more focus on providing practical skills rather than theoretical knowledge. Right now, what is happening when you are passing a college, you're not, I would say, hireable. Okay, for most of the colleges. Okay, so a lot of work is needed from the universities and institutional levels also, from the organization levels also. But in the end, an individual can go and learn on his own, and can be added to this like skill pool, and that is the way
Gaurav,
forward. But yes, yes, yeah, Milan.
so say you hire a fresher from a college, right? For say base level, entry level work in the organization. How much time does it take from the time you hire them till the time they start delivering? What is the time gap? And what
So,
is the average
so
time gap for each employee?
on an average, 3 months are needed. If a candidate is good, has good skills, had done a good study in the college, had a good logical skills and all, and had done some courses. Because nowadays, lot of students do a lot of courses in the college, also do projects also, and also. So it is not like they are blank slate when they are joining. So it generally takes on an average 3 months to make a individual like who can come and deliver something to us.
All right. Okay. Shefali, to you, any insights on how women are faring in this frenzy? How
I
can
was I was waiting
yeah,
for that.
women win this war?
You cannot win this war if 50% of the population is underrepresented. So that's the summation of, if we cannot increase the pipe to the talent, and that is that. So 50% of women, it's not just about women. I think it's the broader notion that how diversity helps in terms of better businesses. And today, I don't have to go into depth about how it helps, but just a very simple statistics, like if women are equal participant as male members in the industry, across industries, not just tech, by 2025, we would have a scope for $28.8 trillion GDP growth. So that's numbers tells why there is a business sense, right? But today, when we look at, so women and gendering is a very complex subject, right? So it's, and the challenge is we have to look at this 50% of the population to be at par in the workforce to address one of the talent challenges, right? Now, when we have to go back and see how do we make it happen, that is where it is important to understand that the whole notion of women not being in workforce has to be looked from societal, institutional, and environmental challenges, right? And until we kind of sort these challenges up, will not be able to change the situation. Whatever companies are doing, these are all band-aids. We're not changing the root cause of it, right? Now, if we have to really start thinking of changing it, we have to look it from a societal mirror there, right? And we have to go back, and it's as I said, it's a very complex problem for government to solve. It's like similar to poverty, right? There's like just layered approaches which have to be solved, right? Same is how do we bring more women to the workforce, right? So it has to go back into a lot of layers. Today, the layers kind of start from the birth till they join the workforce, right? So there are a lot of layers which have to be solved. But I will not get into that part of it. But the main part that we have to start thinking is, how do we kind of start going at least to the school levels and increase the inflow from the STEM education itself? Now, when we look at just keeping everything as same at school level, there is 50% of the girls taking up science, just as an assumption. Now, when this 50% is coming to 12th standard, and what comes out of the engineering, there is already, I think, 25% of the population comes out. But the challenge is, how do we increase the pool of this talent to be giving an entrance engineering exam to be more than 50% or 100% of, I cannot say everybody will take science, right? 60%, 70%, basically solving those barriers, increasing that inflow and bringing them to the engineering entrance exams. Now, when we look at so some steps have happened, right? So some steps have happened today. Our top tier colleges like IITs and NITs are underrepresented with diversity. It's only 8% of the women who make it up. And even when we look at MITs and all, it's at 21%. So as part of the recommendation, what IITs and NITs have started doing good is to actually have the supernumerary seats added up for the JEE Advanced, which is like they have now 20% additional seats for the girls, with all criteria remaining same. So there is no less weightage given for the selection. It's all same. It's just that they've added new seats so that nobody gets impacted. The boys are not impacted, but we're just adding 20% right now. And this has to go up, and this has to be adopted by all the colleges. They have to adopt so that we have at least 50% of the women coming out of the engineering colleges. And then only we have a pool which will start delivering into this workable pool. So it has to go back in time, and that is more to kind of bring in more women representation into the talent pool. Now, so that is more around how do we bring this underrepresented community into the talent mix, right? That is going to solve this challenge. The other problem is on skills, which Gaurav touched upon. Now that is common across. It's not just women, it is across the things. And that essentially means is how good. So today, tier 1, tier 2 colleges are fairly doing okay when it comes to adapting to what the market needs are. Still, they have to go a long way to produce a talent pool which is day one productive, right? But with academic outreach program, industry connects and all, there is and curriculum refreshes. It's reasonably, at least in the top tier institutes, happening reasonably well, but it's not across tier 2, tier 3. My son himself is in third year IIT, and I myself sometimes wonder at IIT, why is he studying this subject when it is so irrelevant, right? So I can just imagine what would be happening at other tier colleges, right? So essentially, what is happening, the curriculum, it is changing, but we can still do better in terms of the skill pool. I think the third dimension is, it's not just engineering colleges. I was reading there is change happening. We are hiring from some of the colleges for design skills, for AI skills from colleges which are non-tech colleges, right? So we are spreading the net to get talent from these colleges, but these are another talent pool that we have to explore. And with NASCOM, there is also, we came across, there is focus to get some of the folks who do from ITI and all, they get opportunity to do internship with bigger companies so that we help them become more ready for the job. So it's happening in batches, but then we need to kind of make it more further accelerated, and a lot of it are becoming by law, so companies are mandated to bring in those interns, so which is a good thing. But in essence, I think the skill ownership is on the institutes, but I also put the ownership on the students themselves to be also, with the digitization, they don't have to really rely on their academic institutes to know what is happening in the world. They can very well kind of understand what's happening, and they themselves should be ready to be upskilled to what companies are asking. So the onus is both ways to get the talent pool into the right levels.
Gaurav, I'm curious to know that, with this shift to work from home, are more women joining the tech workforce, would you, or is there a bigger opportunity for women?
I would say, okay, obviously there is a bigger opportunity for women, basically who are leaving the job or have left the job because of their family issues, or you can say family responsibilities, or they need to manage their kids and all. So for those women, obviously this is their opportunity, and they need to leave their job. Now they can work from home, and they can also manage all their work uh, along with the job. So I would say this is a bigger opportunity. If you see, if you ask me my experience in my team itself, but there are three women employees, okay, who are working for us, and one like, and they are working for just because of work from home. Otherwise, they have small kids. If we ask them to come to office, they need to leave. They need to resign basically, because they will prefer their kids over the job. Okay, since we are able to work from home, so they are able to manage kids also and job also. So obviously, I would say that is like giving them a bigger opportunity or more opportunity to work. So I would say work from home is like, for those, I would say that audience, the work from home is like much more beneficial than I would say others.
Right. Okay. My last question to both Shefali and to you, Gaurav. In fact, why don't you take it? What are your key takeaways from this? This war for tech talent. Is it necessary, and what are the lessons here for companies?
So I would say three main things. Like, one is like focus on upskilling of talent and resources. Is the need of the hour. Okay. Along with that, company need to make more employee-friendly policies and processes so that they can promote a flexibility and work-life balance, which is needed right now. Along with that, I would say, if you ask me, it is like this talent war. I guess I am not seeing that it is slow down. Like, it is likely to slow down. Okay, but I don't know whether it will slow down or not. But I do hope that things will like settle down soon, and that will be beneficial for both the companies and employees, because current environment is very unpredictable, and that is not good for anyone, either companies or employees. Okay, or the ecosystem. Okay, so I do hope that this thing will settle down and things will be more manageable, more predictable for everyone to manage. Yeah.
Okay. Shefali, your view.
I concur with Gaurav to some extent. This is a reality. I think we have to accept and adapt, and we need to, as organization, really look and see what gaps we need to plug to kind of address some of the challenges. Few things are in organization's control, few are not, but things which are in control, are we doing that? I think that is something we have to look at. The other dimension, as this was going on, was coming to my mind is, I think somewhere this helps India to avoid the brain drain, right? We lost a lot of talent outside, and probably it's beneficial as well to some extent with some of the talent which have the right skills. They don't have to leave their country to kind of earn that kind of money outside. So I don't know, this is just a blessing in disguise. It was just coming to my mind.
Definitely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's not healthy for sure, but I think it also puts the onus on the management and individuals also kind of really be somewhere conscious about, are they doing the right thing for their people, right? And is it just the money which is causing this change on attrition, or is it something which they themselves can fix? So that would be my few thoughts.
Right. All right. Shefali Bansal of Red Hat and Gaurav Asthana, Gramophone, thank you very much for your time and for your questions.
Thank you.
It was good to have you with us.
Thank you, Maloney.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you very much. Thanks, Shefali.
Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks, everyone.